Έχουμε μια πολλά ωραία έκπληξη, παιδιά.
Για εκείνους που σε ενδιαφέρει η παιδεία βασικά, καταφέραμε να κλείσουμε podcast μαζί, δηλαδή κοινό podcast, με δυο από τους πιο controversial θεωρητικούς της εκπαίδευσης που έχουμε τώρα. Ο ένας είναι ο Τσουκάτα Μήτρα, που είναι πάρα πολύ γνωστός. Να βάλουμε ένα απόσπασμα καλύτερα από το podcast που έκαναν ο Φιδιάς μαζί του, για να δείτε λίγο τις απόψεις του. Είναι Ινδός στην καταγωγή, αλλά είναι του Πανεπιστημίου του Newcastle. Και ο άλλος είναι ο Πίτερ Γκρέι, που είναι και εκείνος έτσι ακραίος στην εκπαίδευση. Και τούτο έκαμε το podcast ο Φιδιάς, οπότε να βάλουμε ένα αποσπάσμα από το podcast του Τζίνου. Και τούτοι δυο, ας πούμε, έχουν τις πιο που ξέρω εγώ τους θεωρητικούς της εκπαίδευσης, λίγο όπως το Ken Robinson που μπορεί να το ξέρουν παραπάνω, είναι πιο γνωστός, ας πούμε. Έτσι είναι πολλά alternative οι προσεγγίσεις τους για το θέμα της παιδείας και του σκιό, δηλαδή για το πόσο λάθος είναι ο τρόπος που σκεφτούμαστε, που είδαμε την εκπαίδευση κτλ. Ο Peter Gray είναι πολλά radical, είναι Αμερικάνος ο Peter Gray και στο Πανεπιστήμιο Boston College νομίζω, καθηγητής, αλλά δεν έκαναν ποτέ μαζί οι δυο τους και δεχτήκαν να κάνουν μαζί podcast οι δυο τους για το Σεπτέμβρη.
Και μάλιστα δεχτήκαν και οι δυο κυρίως γιατί είναι ο άλλος στο podcast. Επειδή εκτιμούν πολλά ο ένας τον άλλον, τούτο μου είπα.
Ναι, και δεν έκαναν ποτέ μαζί. Οπότε είναι γενικά ένα παγκόσμιο event για εκείνους που ενδιαφέρονται για την εναλλακτική εκπαίδευση γενικά και τα πολλά fundamental της εκπαίδευσης. Και σκεφτούμαστε τώρα πώς να το μεθοδεύσουμε, να τους καλέσουμε να έρθουν και live ζωντανά να το κάνουμε.
Ίσως και σαν κόμμα, ίσως σαν βουλευτές, αν είσαι εσύ εγώ.
Κάπως, ας πούμε, αφού θέλουμε να ξεκινήσει ένα conversation, ένας διάλογος για το πώς να αλλάξουμε, πώς να σάσουμε την εκπαίδευση, νομίζω αν ξεκινήσουμε από τον τους που είναι πιο radical, είναι πιο ακραίοι, δηλαδή αν ξέρετε ο Ken Robinson, που είναι ο πιο γνωστός, ας πούμε, έτσι εναλλακτικός της εκπαίδευσης, να βάλουμε και κάνα αποσπάσμα του Τζίνου, δυστυχώς χάσαμε τον. Δεν προλάβαινε ο Φιδιάς να του κάνει podcast και τούτου. Ένα λίγο παγκόσμιο γεγονός και όσοι ενδιαφέρονται να προσπαθούμε να μεθοδεύσουμε και να προσπαθούμε να τους φέρουμε στην Κύπρο να το κάνουμε ζωντανά τέλος πάντων το πράγμα.
Οπότε παιδιά μείνετε συντονισμένοι.
Δεν ξέρω αν μπορεί σαν ίσως στη Βουλή, εντάξει εμείς να είμαστε στη Βουλή, ενάχει για τη δημοκρατία, ίσως η Επιτροπή Παιδείας της Βουλής να τους φέρει, ίσως σαν κόμμα, τέλος πάντων να σκεφτούμε, αλλά το γεγονός ότι δεχτήκαν είμαστε πάρα πολύ χαρούμενοι.
Μεγάλη υπόθεση.
Για μένα που είμαι εκπαιδευτικός, είμαι από τους ήρωες μου στα θέματα εκπαίδευσης, οπότε είμαι και εγώ πάρα πολύ excited για να γίνει το πράγμα.
Παιδιά απαντήσε ο ένας μέσα σε μισή ώρα και ο άλλος σε μερικές ώρες, οπότε
είναι πάρα πολύ καλή.
Stay tuned.
Όταν λαό τα σχολεία φυλακές παιδιά ένα αστιεύκο, είναι που τα αλήθεια που το εννοώ. Και έκανα ένα podcast που τον καθηγητή ψυχολογίας του Πανεπιστημίου της Βοστόνης, το Peter Gray, και στα αγγλικά όμως και να βάλω ένα λεπτό που τη συζήτηση που εξηγά γιατί τα σχολεία φυλακές και κάτσε δέτε το, έβαλα υποτίτλους τώρα.
School has taken over children's lives. And it's become really, I don't think it's too much of an exaggeration to say that it's become a prison for children. Children in school are basically told what to do all the time. They're not free to make their own decisions. They're not free even to go to the bathroom, without permission. Increasingly, schools in the United States especially have taken away recess. So they actually in school, children have less opportunity for exercise than prisoners in a prison in the United States have. So I really believe that school is damaging children. We're seeing increasing rates of anxiety, depression, even suicide among school-aged children. These are at record levels now.
Do you think this is about school or is about social media, these studies that you are talking about? Because the last 10 years, social media happened and also...
Yeah, it's not social media. It's school. And the evidence for this is that this all started before social media. This is not a new thing. So this has been a gradually increasing
thing. So why it's
thing.
increasing though the last couple of years?
It's been increasing for 50 years. It's been gradually increasing over 50 years. At least since 1970, with every decade, children are less free to play and explore and really be children. With every decade, the rate of anxiety, depression, suicide has been going up.
Αφήκαν τους μαθητές τις εξετάσεις παιδιά με τηλέφωνα και ίντερνετ. Και έκανα ένα podcast με τον καθηγητή του Πανεπιστημίου που το έκαμε και σοκαριστικά τα αποτελέσματα. Στα αγγλικά, αλλά έβαλα ελληνικούς υποτίτλους για να καταλάβετε. Δέτε το.
It has to be done in steps. You can't just change the system overnight like that, Nobody will let you do that. So the first step would be What would happen if you allow children to use the internet in an examination, in a normal examination? Most people seem to think that everybody will get everything correct. But this is not necessarily true. Because first of all, you need to know how to look up things quickly, how to find out which is the correct answer, because a computer will give you lots of answers. And thirdly, how do you take the correct answer and then say it out so that so that the listener is able to understand what you're saying? So again, we are back to comprehension, communication, and computing. I tried this experiment in 2 countries, in India, and the government of Israel tried this experiment also in a very large scale, that to answer the question, what will happen if you allow children to use the computer during an exam? And the results were actually quite surprising. Yes, the scores will go up, but only 30%. Okay, it won't go up 100%. Only increases by 30%. But more importantly, the student ranking will change. Meaning that the child who comes as the first, the best performer, will no longer be the same child who would have come first in the old system. It's now some other child. So 30% change and a change in the rankings. That would be the first step in trying to make a change, is to allow people to use a device during an examination, regular examination.
Our education system is predicated on the idea of academic ability. And there's a reason. The whole system was invented around the world. There were no public systems of education really before the 19th century. They all came into being to meet the needs of industrialism. So the hierarchy is rooted on 2 ideas. Number one, that the most useful subjects for work are at the top. So you were probably steered benignly away from things at school when you were a kid, things you liked, on the grounds you would never get a job doing that. Is that right? Don't do music, you're not going to be a musician. Don't do art, you won't be an artist. Benign advice. Now, profoundly mistaken. The whole world is engulfed in a revolution. And the second is academic ability, which has really come to dominate our view of intelligence because the universities designed the system in their image. If you think of it, the whole system of public education around the world is a protracted process of university entrance. And the consequence is that many highly talented, brilliant, creative people think they're not, because the thing they were good at school wasn't valued or was actually stigmatized. And I think we can't afford to go on that way. In the next 30 years, according to UNESCO, more people worldwide will be graduating through education than since the beginning of history. More people. And it's the combination of all the things we've talked about, technology and its transformational effect on work, and demography and the huge explosion in population. Suddenly, degrees aren't worth anything. Isn't that true? When I was a student, if you had a degree, you had a job. If you didn't have a job, it's because you didn't want one. And I didn't want one, frankly. So, but now, kids with degrees are often heading home to carry on playing video games because you need an MA, where the previous job required a BA, and now you need a PhD for the other. It's a process of academic inflation, and it indicates the whole structure of education is shifting beneath our feet. What we do know is, if you're not prepared to be wrong, you'll never come up with anything original. If you're not prepared to be wrong. And by the time they get to be adults, most kids have lost that capacity. They have become frightened of being wrong. And we run our companies this, by the way. We stigmatize mistakes. And we're now running national education systems where mistakes are the worst thing you can make. And the result is that we are educating people out of their creative capacities. Picasso once said this. He said that all children are born artists. The problem is to remain an artist as we grow up. I believe this passionately, that we don't grow into creativity, we grow out of it. Or rather, we get educated out of it.